Broadcasting live from the autonomous furnace on the plain of Mirrodin, this is TapTapConcede. Welcome, everybody, to TapTapConcede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Nelson.
Present.
And Wheeler.
You're going to get roasted by loreheads in the comments section.
For the autonomous furnace?
On Mirrodin? Wouldn't it be on Phyrexia?
Within the plane of... Oh, I suppose. All right, fair enough. On some layer of the orb that is formerly known as Mirrodin, which it turns out is not even that large.
No.
It's like...
Well, how big of a planet have you made?
All right, fair enough.
Karn just made it himself, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Karn made the West Edmonton Mall, basically.
This show is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Please check out cardkingdom.com/LRR to buy your own model of Mirrodin. No, they don't sell that, but they do sell magic cards, and you can get them there at a reasonable price with very fast shipping. And if you ask them very nicely, say, loading ready, run, sent me, button, please, they'll give you a little 1-inch button, which says a funny thing, and I need to send them some new ones. But I think we still have Mathis for blockers.
Hey, if you're watching this on YouTube and you are a lorehead, can you explain to me anything you know about how it works for this one planet to have 5 suns? Unless someone else here already
They
just
used to
knows.
be inside it, too. That's the funny thing. Then they came out through the, I can't remember what they call them.
The beacons.
The beacons, okay.
I don't know.
And then there's you can do the thing from Labyrinth where David Bowie steps and goes whoop and goes under. You can do that to go from the surface. You sort of step and then suddenly your gravity is like you're on the wall walking down into the other layers. It's super weird. Mirrodin / New Phyrexia, messed up place.
Well, now, if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know if there's already a port of Super Mario Odyssey moon levels so that it looks like Mirrodin and your car running around, because I would play the hell out of that. Yeah.
Also, this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you for encouraging this nonsense to continue. Today, we have a very special episode of Tap Tap Concede. It's The Sword Down, which is a joke we made in a Sick Rips once, I think it was, where we were just making jokes about all the different swords. But no, today, we're going to go through all of the swords, all the and swords, and we're going to give them a grade for Commander, for Canadian Highlander, and for Flavour. Now, it's very likely the best sword in all these formats is Umezawa's Jite, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the swords of blank and blank.
Vintage legal swords of blank and blank.
Ah.
No Dungeons and Dragons.
I don't want
Sorry.
Dungeons and Dragons.
That's
no
fair.
foil and full art sword.
Fair enough. And so that's why we've got Nelson Wheeler here. So let's kick it off with the first one printed, the Sword of Fire and Ice. I'll remind everyone at home. 3-mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and from blue. Equipped creature deals combat damage to a player. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player. Sword of Fire and Ice deals 2 damage to target creature or player, and you draw a card. And it equips only for 2. Spoilers, they all are 3 mana that equip for 2, and then they do those things. Let's start with Canadian Highlander.
He used to make the cut sometimes.
I mean, we have to start this off by saying that these are all unplayable.
I was going to say,
Highlander.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean,
why is that?
I blame Cauldron mostly. There was sort of one free spot.
yeah, they cost 3 mana.
That's too
and
much.
they equip for 2 mana. That's a lot. I think if you are spending that much money, if you're spending that much mana to get an equipment into play and attached, it's often better to just go bigger because you're already using your entire turn and basically trying to high roll your opponent.
Right.
So just play Cauldron or Batter Skull is even better than the swords. Or you go smaller. You just play Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear is a cheaper equipment that lets you push damage that also say when I hit you, I do something that pushes me further to winning the game, which is I gain life. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I forgot about Shadow Spear. That one's so important too. But basically, just as as non-sword equipments have slowly gotten better and better, it's like the number of spots in your Stoneforge Mystic deck are so small. After you put in all the must-play GTA, both the Living Weapons and Shadow Spear, right? After that, you don't have any more spots for equipment.
But
as
the premier equipment pilot of the format, in my Hammer Time deck, I do play Sword of Fire and Ice.
Nice.
It's the only sword but that's a deck with like 12 or 11 pieces of equipment or something. And
Yeah.
it's all built around equipment.
When we say playable, we don't mean like illegal. Like you definitely can put any of these swords we're going to talk about in your deck. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just like we think that to do so, I think we're probably on the same page here. Like, at this point, you're making a like fun pick rather than a competitive choice for your deck.
But this is the closest one to being fun and also like competitive.
So if we're establishing our baseline of how we're doing this, with the understanding that Cauldra or Batterskull on one end or Shadowspear on the other are all better, and you probably, in nearly every case, aren't playing any of these swords, are we all just going to, for Highlander anyway, are we all just going to give the swords relatively low grades, or are we going to grade them on a curve amongst themselves?
We could give them low grades.
Okay.
But hear me out. What if we grade them as though all of these swords are legal, printed, and were plopped into like 2013 Canadian Highlander?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So
Like-
we have a Stoneforge Mystic, right? Is it
Yeah.
13, and we have Jitte, but we still have 2 other slots.
Yeah, like
right?
what?
Yeah.
Like let's put ourselves in the era when these were playable.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
And they're all available.
Go with us on this journey. Celestial Colonnade and Jace the Mind Sculptor are printed, but Questing Beast and Oko aren't.
Look, you're listening to filler. You might as well listen to high concept filler.
Yeah.
Love it. Great. Okay.
So out of 5 stars or something, this one's like a 5.
Yeah. 5 out of 5 on that scale.
Yeah.
Blue and red suck.
I was going to say, are blue and red like the most relevant colors to have protection from?
They've always been a thing in Highlander and played together with no other colors commonly. So like having protection from both of them is particularly fun,
They're also the 2 best colors in the game. Like,
basically.
debatably, but you typically
It's before all those good green cards are printed. So like that
That's true.
statement is more true, remember.
that's
Yeah.
true. I mean, even nowadays, I still think Volcanic Island probably just casts the best spells, but that's a different discussion for another
For
plate
a
of cooking.
Another one of
a
these,
future
yeah.
high concept episode.
Ooh, yeah, well, that'd be a good one. Just like dual lands fighting. Anywho, this one kicks ass in that like circumstance because like it does everything you want. They can't block because they lose their creature. If they don't block, then they lose their creature, and you just keep drawing cards.
It really feels like the prototype where they're like, we want you to draw cards to get further ahead, and we're going to help you out in either the race or by playing defense with the shock.
Yeah,
Sweet.
they knocked it out of the park on the first one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now shifting gears, sort of Fire and Ice in Commander. Are we doing Commander today, or are we
Staying high concept.
we could do.
No, we
Commander.
can do Commander today.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
fine. Yeah.
are these more playable in Commander than they are in Canlander?
I actually don't think I've ever played a sword in Commander, just because usually when I'm sitting down in Commander deck, I'm like, my first thought is like, okay, have a deck that handles Wrath of God effects well. But then playing Commander with y'all, it's like they're actually not that common. So I don't know. Attacking's more common than wrathing in our games.
It's funny because it's Commander, so everything's playable.
Right.
But swords kind of fall into a similar case as they do in Canlander, where the equipment decks tend to care about playing all of the small pieces if they're trying to SRAM or just have a creature that says for every equipment on me I get +2/+2. And you
Yeah.
just want to put bone splitters and everything.
Yeah, they love 1-mana equipments. Right?
But then if you're going up, then it's just I could play Sword of Fire and Ice, or I could play Bone Horde.
right.
I think which is the living weapon that
Tarmogoyf one.
everything gets Lurgoyf.
Yeah. Or like the +2/+2 flying one.
Yeah, they're still cool. People play them. But this is out of all of them, I think this one actually falls a little short
Yeah, it's like a 3 or 4 star for Commander.
because there are other sorts that we'll get to that actually care about. Commander is all about being selfish, at least in a lot of deck building kind of considerations. And this doesn't care about what you are doing as much as it cares about what your opponent's about to do or trying to do. And so there are swords that are like, hey, let me reinforce your game plan or push in a certain area that artifacts usually aren't able to touch.
Right.
And those ones are more likely to get the slot than Sophie. But I mean, you could still play it. It's cool.
Could you Could you also, because Nelson's gone with stars, 5 stars and 3 stars, respectively, could you give a rank either also on stars or on your own
Yeah, do you
scale?
want to use letter
I was
grades
gonna say,
instead?
I'll use letter
Perfect.
grades.
Great.
You use stars.
Yeah,
In
I love it.
Commander, I would give this a B-.
All right. Sweet. Perfect. So now, flavor-wise, it's the Sword of Fire and Ice.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, knocked out of the park flavor-wise.
yeah.
I really like the Modern Masters art too, but the original art is great. And yeah, red shock, blue, draw card.
Yeah.
I don't
nails it,
know.
right?
It really taps into this kind of like primal urge for really basic fantasy where it's like, what if sword was hot and cold? And I'm like, oh my God, it can be both? Like, that's just, yeah, that's great. The
Now-
dichotomy is so
Now you said
level 1.
taps into, and that's actually what ice does in Magic. So I guess I want to take a star off of my flavor ranking.
I was
Because
gonna-
although it was great,
I was going to ask if this predated the card Fire and Ice, which
No, it
no,
doesn't.
that came first,
It
and that
doesn't,
was 2 damage or 1 damage.
it's 2 damage split however you want. But
Oh.
that, I mean, this card's already too good. But if they wanted to, like, instead of draw a card, you get to tap one or more things down or put stun counters
that would
on.
be worse.
It would be worse. Yeah, it'd be a worse card in every way except flavor.
Well, it'd be a worse card, but it would be a more miserable play experience. Like,
Yeah,
you're
that's true,
already
actually.
struggling to get out from under this.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, lock down your thing
Yeah,
permanently.
your one green creature that could have blocked is just never untapping.
Yeah, exactly.
Ice also draws a card.
Oh yeah, it just says draw a card and tap.
Oh,
Up to
so
one
you just
permanent,
wanna-
that's untap.
Right,
Just
so
add
you-
that in there.
Sorry, when people say like icing, it's
Yeah.
either
Yeah,
you know,
I
you
forgot
think of
that
just
Ice
the tap part.
also draws a card. Okay,
Yeah.
so
So we
it's,
want to make
this is now a little better.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to say instead, but sure, that theoretical card could be better or more miserable. Just flavor wise, I just meant for flavor.
Right.
It doesn't tap something down. It's not the iciest it could be.
Fair enough. So for flavor, what had you given this?
4 stars.
Nice.
It's got to be 2 thumbs up.
And this is the only sword. I think this is the only sword with a commonly used and very clean nickname.
Oh yeah,
Right?
that's an important part of
Everyone calls
sort of
this
flavor side.
Sophie, but no one. I don't recall of any other of the swords
Well,
being referred to like
people have said some things,
Yeah.
but Sophie's the only one that's clean. You're right.
There's a lot of anachronisms when it comes to like the nicknaming of these Magic cards that pop out in the later years, right?
that. Okay,
Like,
I'm unfamiliar with them. If any of them are unrepeatable, we won't. But
well, one of them I'll tell you the acronym when we get to it. But
great. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
let's move on then.
great.
To the second printed sword, the Sword of Light and Shadow. Why does that person not have a head?
Because it's a ghost inhabiting the armor.
Oh, I always just thought that was like a very fancy sword stand.
Maybe it is.
Is
Like
it because they're trying to clash?
I don't know.
I just thought it was a statue.
So these are all, I should say also, these are all, from the flavor perspective, these are all Mirren creations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, James, can we quickly go back to Sophie?
Oh. Yeah. they're
So I
looking
think
towards
I
each
think
other.
it's just a shot because Sophie has the shot where we see the face. I think Light and Shadow is from the back. We're looking at this character's back, where they're going like this.
Oh, so like that part that I'm thinking is a neck is that's the top.
I
of the
think that's the
helmet?
top of their head. I mean, they both have really stupid like heads, right?
They
Sure.
do both have stupid heads.
Mark Zug, if you're watching, let us know in the comments,
Yeah.
please. We're super curious what the art brief was here.
So Sword of Light and Shadow, same cost and equipment. That's the last time I'll bother saying that. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and protection from white and from black. And whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you gain 3 life, and you may return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Canadian Highlander.
Banger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This card's like it's better than it looks. The 3 life is much worse than dealing 2 damage to something, unless you're in some disgusting position where that triggers all of your things, and now your whole deck is turned on because you gained 3 life. You monster, sicko.
Ooh, me.
Yeah, and similarly, the drawing a card is generically better than returning a creature from your graveyard, but there's plenty of situations where the raised dead is better than just a blank draw.
White and black does a lot of heavy lifting here too.
Well, I want to say, like, again, if we're in that period of time, I remember 2013 thinking like protection from white doesn't matter. Like this is around the time. This 2013 is like around the area where like white was really trying to figure out its color identity, right? Like there were things that white couldn't do that other colors could, even though it's been a struggle for white over the past 10
Tell
years.
that to the wheeler that got 3 wins with white weenie back in the day, bud.
See, I don't think that equipping one of my creatures with pro white was even going to help against that, though.
No, it wasn't. But
Yeah.
I mean, swords.
That's the thing. It's like it's not good at beating the white deck, giving the
It
+2/+2
stopped
and
swords
pro
to
white.
Plowshares Path to Exile.
Yeah.
Doomblade.
I'm just
What do you
scooching this in so that when you look at Wheeler, you're
Oh, I see.
more on the mic.
Okay.
It's like you're tempting him with
all a
like a
little-
chicken drums.
Okay, so no, I'm less excited by pro white, pro black than I am by pro
Sure.
pro blue, but it's still relevant. Yeah, a lot of great removal spells in both these colors.
All right, ranking for Highlander.
3 stars.
B. What did I say? B minus for Sophie?
Yeah.
Well, it was it B minus for Highlander? No, it was B minus for Commander.
Oh,
You gave Sophie a
okay.
B minus in Commander,
Okay.
but yeah,
For Highlander, I'd place this right below Sophie.
okay,
Two notches below Sophie.
great.
That's my ranking.
What did you?
Are you just ranking them 1 through 10? Like,
you
you just
rank-
have 10 slots?
No, dude.
No? Okay.
I'm going off the vibes.
Oh, great. Okay, so hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know what Wheeler's ranking systems were.
I'd also like to know.
Yeah, we're all
gonna-
looking forward to reading
This
that
is going
comment.
to
Yeah.
be difficult to track. All right, flavor-wise,
So-
white gain life, black
Raised
or
dead.
not reanimate, raise dead. Thank
Raised
you.
Dead, yeah.
It's really funny that this is like, it's such a 2005 card, or 2004, or 2003, 2004.
It says 2004 on it.
Yeah, it's still.
I don't read the cards.
You
It's-
just know them.
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot with this card because I couldn't afford the fire dice as a kid. The flavor's kind of cool. It is very like, obviously gaining 3 life is bad, and I don't actually know if like shadow implies like
Yeah,
raising the dead.
like Shadow is a mechanic in Magic, but also what's the vibe of Shadows? Like, there's the card Darkness, and like sometimes the Black Wizards like kill someone with just shadows, like Tendrils of Agony or whatever.
Like every raised dead effect in the game, at least up until that point, was very much about like dredging or like pulling from the dirt, like
Yeah.
and making almost like making a scene out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
They were all B horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm actually starting to think the flavor is not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
The design of the card is good.
light should tap.
Yeah,
Like, if you're gonna make one of these swords
blinding
tapping-
beam and stuff like those are light. Also, is a tapping mechanic in Magic.
Yeah, blinding light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like we can't just analyze the name of the card to its abilities. We also have to give some flavor for like which abilities that they choose for these color pair sword, right? And so I think they did do a good job. Like, I like this sort of white and black being like, you get to raise dead and you gain life. That's fine. These are very in color pie.
Yeah.
For these 2 abilities. So marks there. But yeah, I want to take at least 1 point off. I'm going to take a point off for light and a point off for shadow. From the name.
I'm going to take a point off for sword and a point off for oven and
3 stars for flavor from Nelly.
I'll give it 1 thumb up.
Great.
I'm pretty sure that every sword is going to get 3, 4, or 5 stars for flavor.
Yeah.
They're very flavor win cards.
Yeah, they're swords.
All right.
Okay. And
We've spent 10 minutes apiece on these first 2
These are the
swords.
good ones.
Good.
These ones are going to be, yeah, we'll spend time with this, but
this one's better in Commander, I think, than Sophie.
I'll give anybody here $5 if you can tell me what Sinew and Steel does.
Oh, did I skip Commander? I went from Highlander to
fine.
flavor.
Yeah.
No, we talked about Commander, didn't we?
No.
Not for the sword yet.
Yeah, this one's bad.
Oh, really? I think this one's fine.
It's
But
Commander,
okay.
everything's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just like Black already has, like, the decks that want to raise dead can just do it already. And, like, even in white now, especially nowadays, like where you look at this card and you're like, oh, well, a deck that's outside of black or a deck that would be wanting to play equipment like something like Boros, they don't have the tools to bring things back. It's like, no, it's 2023, baby. Everything can bring things.
It's true. Yeah, I can just play Recommission for.
Recommission, Savine's Reclamation. There's that. There's probably some kind of what is it, Lorehaven enchantment or something. Nahiri's Resolve might do stuff like that. You got Karmic Guide.
Yeah,
you got a whole bunch of ways of doing that.
All right, 1 star for Commander.
I give this 1 sad Nelson out of 2.
God, there's another sad Nelson out there.
All right, next. Sword of Body and Mind. This was the one from Scars of Mirrodin. +2/+2, of course, and protection from green and from blue. And then, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to player, you get a 2/2 green wolf token, and that player puts the top 10 cards of their library into their graveyard. As Cameron said for many years, son, you're full of puppies, and that ain't right. I'm going to cut them out of you. Canlander.
Please don't play this in Canadian
I have
Highlander.
a very good story about this card in Canadian
Oh, yeah?
Highlander, if I may.
Please.
Go for
I'm
it.
playing against Canadian Highlander legend Chris Sutherland.
Oh, yeah.
And he's playing a blue-white evasive creatures plus equipment style deck. There's no other way to describe it except through very general terms.
Sounds fun.
And I was playing Sandy Bee, Pattern Rector, a creature combo deck that often utilizes the graveyard and reanimates things. Chris has a creature out that is a 2-mana 1/1 protection from creatures, effectively an unblockable creature.
Okay.
And then plays this freshly acquired Sword of Body of Mind and equips it to his creature.
It's like the week after Scars of Mirrodin comes
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
And he hits me once, and I mill 10. I'm like, oh. And you get a wolf? And he's like, yeah, I think it's pretty okay. Hits me again. I mill another 10. I'm like, oh, I kind of needed some of those creatures. Milling 10, maybe it's actually okay. Like, maybe it's fine. I draw Living Death for my turn, which is 5 mana, basically swap all creatures and play with all creatures in the graveyard. Proceed to bring back my entire combo and kill him. And he goes, well, I don't think I'm going to be tutoring that one again.
It's so funny that you also it's like the card that wins the game outright because it just reanimates your pile. Also, is a way to kill the beloved chaplain.
This card stinks, Graham.
It's a huge liability in Canadian Highlander specifically. This card gets a bit better if you're in Cube. I know we're those one of the formats we're talking about, but actually Cube is a place where these get played sometimes.
Thank you for getting ahead of the one person in chat that was frantically going like, you freaks haven't played against this in limited. You have no idea. You know?
Nearly all of these are very good in limited.
This one's stone nuts in limited.
Yeah, I would allege this one's the best in limited of the
so.
10.
Yeah.
But we're not actually we're not deep diving on limited today.
That's fine.
So all right, Canlander then. 2013 Canlander. Very bad.
This is a card that in most games I would happily just give my opponent an 8th card slot in their hand so they could have it. Just to be like, here, this is free. You don't have to discard anything, and you can cast it whenever you want. And if you want to mill me 10,
if you made this card like a companion,
I will do a little dance. Yeah,
yeah, I would kind of be. I would be okay with my opponent having it, even if it gives them an extra card, because it might entice them to spend their mana and resources to play and equip this.
Instead of mill 10, just pretend it says, and target opponent draws 2 cards.
This card is so bad. I'm just sitting here thinking about how wild it is that in limited we start by effectively getting rid of a quarter of our deck. You ever think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that more than I want to think about Sword of Body and Mind in Canlander.
All right, Canlander rankings.
1 star.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so your list doesn't bottom at 0 stars then. I want to understand. Wheeler can do whatever. I want to understand.
I've decided it bottoms at 1 star.
All right, cool.
Because that's, I think more apps force you to give 1 star if you want to rank it all.
Fair enough.
10 depressed housewives out of 10.
Lovely.
One.
Yeah.
Commander. Similar issue with deck sizes.
But I think maybe in Commander you're more likely to tilt someone if you mill their combo piece.
Yeah, Commander players.
Sorry, Commander players.
Look, no, it's okay. I'm on the CAG. I can say this. A majority of
I was
Commander
thinking
players
about people on the CAG when I said that.
Yeah, including CAG members. babies. Like the idea of milling cards or having to discard cards. Just like I wouldn't be shocked if I woke up and there was a thread that has like 5,000 likes where it's like every time I think about looting in Commander, I want to throw up. It's just like, come on. But yeah, I could do that.
Yeah. It gets 2 stars in Commander.
All right. Wheeler?
This is going to be another 10 depressed housewives out of 10 for me. It's just, it doesn't do enough. And like, I don't know if I want to deal with a whining Commander player being like, oh my God, you milled my best card.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Also,
right.
Commander, obviously, you could be drawing them 2 cards when you mill them 10, depending on their deck. It's just as bad as Canadian Highlander if they wanted to be.
So flavor-wise, from green, we're getting a grizzly bear, except it's a wolf.
But it's called the body, so I love that, the synergy.
That's true.
You get a body.
You get a body. And then for the blue aspect, you're milling 10. You're doing, what is that?
Mind destruction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is
Glimpse the
mill 10?
unthinkable.
Glimpse, that's the one. Yeah.
Targeting them. Everyone's favorite glimpse. Yeah, the flavor is like it might be 5 stars for flavor. I actually particularly like that when you hear the phrase body and mind, you're thinking about like your own, like it's all like you hear that next to like spiritual wellness or whatever, and you think a person's body and the same person's mind. But this one flips it. It's like you're familiar with those words, but actually the body here is a body, meaning a creature. And the mind is like a mind attack.
Inside
It's
everybody,
mind sculpt.
there is a wolf. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good flavor. The art doesn't do anything for me. Like,
It would be
it's
cool
not-
if there was a wolf on the art. Like a wolf
Yeah, I
just
don't know.
holding the sword with its
like,
teeth.
I don't want to turn this into like Nelson and Ben, our art critics,
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, that's
But it does just kind of look like, hey, what if we had blue flame on one side and green flame on the other? And it's like, oh,
I like that the Sons
yeah.
of Mirrodin are in the art.
yeah.
I like,
like that
that.
too.
There's a background.
I think this is also Chris Rand's first sword, and I think that Chris Rand would do better swords as this goes on. I think Chris ends up doing several of the swords.
Yes.
Let's look at the next sword, which is the Sword of Feast and Famine. Similar vein. This is from Mirrodin Besieged. The equipped creature gets +2/+2 and protection from black and from green. And when it hits, the player that is hit discards a card, and you untap all your lands. Huh. Canlander.
Yeah.
This one's actually, honestly, maybe even higher up than Sophie in my mind for like if you would play a sword, play this one. And we were talking about this era, and this era was real, where even in Legacy, just before Batterskull was printed, right when this was printed, you could play like this, Jitte and Sophie in your Stoneforge Mystic decks. And I did, and that was a lot of fun. I don't know, and it was still competitive back then before you had to give the slots up to these other cards. But this one's particularly nuts because untapping all of your lands does so much. Like making your opponent discard a card is also great, although occasionally has the same problem of Sword of Body and Mind, but only usually when you're playing specifically against like Reanimator. And yeah, just untapping all your lands is kind of like drawing another card because you get to play another card, or you might play a card that says draw a card on it. Go ahead.
Well, I think importantly that, one of the weaknesses of this card is that it isn't drawing you cards. So there's like a cap, right?
Sure.
Like if you aren't using your mana, then untapping doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And if your opponent's out of cards, then that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, both abilities have a ceiling. Yeah.
If you are in those positions, there's a chance where untapping all your lands doesn't do anything because you have no cards to cast or other abilities to activate. But there's always the default of like, well, you can at least move the sword around if you have multiple creatures or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you will find spots where like my Hellbent opponent discards a card, which they can't. And then I untap all my lands, which does nothing.
Sure.
But like when both of these modes are doing something, they're arguably more backbreaking than Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I also just want to mention, if you put this on a creature land, then it untaps itself. Mm-hmm. So unlike all the other swords where they sort of need you to have something, I mean, it might be hexproof or whatever, but it's still going to be like weak to your opponent's sorcery speed sweepers. This one lets you get around that by just like attacking with your Mishra's Factory and then hilariously like untapping your attacker. So I like that a lot about this sword too.
Cool. All right. Canlander rankings.
Same as Sophie for me. So whatever that was, 5 stars. Yeah.
4 banana rascals out of 5.
Delicious. Commander.
Pro green. That's like pro every commander deck, right?
Yeah, this one's kind of messed up for commander.
Having an opponent's having an opponent with a card in their hand to discard is like a certainty when you have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Or if you are in the position that all 3 of your opponents have no cards, like you are a happy commander player, right?
Yeah, swords get some strength. Like they do get some juice in commander, other than just the format is slower. In that you will probably find someone that will take a hit, whether they want to or not. They are just going to be a mono green deck, or they'll be the one person without blockers, and you're just like, well, I'm going to hit you because I want to untap all my lands. And you're a format where you do kind of have a companion in that, well, you have your commander.
You might have companion too.
So just like being able to have something that you can basically always cast means that you are very unlikely to run into a situation where you're like, oh, I untapped all my lands and I've got nothing to do with it. Darn.
Yeah, that's like antithetical to the whole format, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've been in that situation in Commander, like
You built your deck.
tweet us your deck list. We want to help you. We want to cut some cards from your deck and put in cards to draw cards in there or something.
Sweet.
So
All right.
this one's like 5 stars in Commander too, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the best or the second best one. It's a little mean, but it's pretty good. Like it's the one sword that doesn't care about how you built your deck that you will still like want to play. You know, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. What's your ranking for Commander then, Wheeler?
James with 3 scoops of ice cream.
Nice.
Wow. Dang.
Yeah.
Flavor-wise, speaking of ice cream, from black we get discard, and from green we get big mana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the vibe of feasting and famining being related to having lots of mana and not having anything to do with it, right? Like if you don't have any cards in hand.
Yeah, I like that.
Cast spells.
We feast on mana, and your opponent experiences the famine of their hand.
Yeah,
I think is how that
it's fine.
that is supposed to work.
The art is another one of the things where it's like we just see like colored fire or whatever coming off the swords. But honestly, both last 2 paintings by Chris Ron, bangers. Like I love the mirrored background.
I do like this one where the green part of it, the feast it's just very straight.
Okay.
It's almost like it's sated. Whereas the famine side is a little unruly, and it kind of looks like it's trying to escape because it's, desperate for something, anything.
Okay, I like that.
I also like how, in contrast to the previous sword, where the Mirren sons were on the same... This is a small thing. On the same side of the sword of their color, this one, the sons are on the opposite sides of the swords. I don't know why I think that's neat, but I do.
Yeah.
There we
Yin
go.
and yang, my dude.
Yeah.
Anything? I'm curious. So we've agreed that feast is the untap lands.
Yeah.
Famine is discard. Any deductions here for the fact that that's actually flipped?
That should be the sort of famine and feast.
Correct.
Right?
Or the ability should be swapped in the rules text.
I guess because do they do the template the rules like that because of that's how the
They have to.
that's the
how-
order that
Yeah.
the colors have to go in.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And feast, I mean, single syllable, double syllable.
Yeah, but also like the phrase is, feast and famine, not famine
Yeah.
and feast, in the way that it sounds wrong in English for those rules that are unspoken. And
Hey,
how
if you're
English
watching
sounds.
this podcast right now and you barely have any idea what we're talking about, don't worry about it. Like, we're going to keep going in a second, and I am also lost. But yeah, whatever James said, we got to lose 1
Well,
star.
The
So
name feast comes first, but the ability that we consider feasting is second.
right, okay.
So it's like, is that a problem?
Let's take off
clearly
3
not
stars for that.
Nelson.
2
All right.
stars for flavor.
All
Sorry,
right.
that completely ruined it for me.
Excellent. Good to know. Next, sword. It's the sword of war and peace. So this one is protection from red and from white. And whenever it hits a player, it deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. And you gain 1 life for each card in your hand.
Can we do flavor first this time?
Sure.
Just thinking about all these Chris Ron paintings, because this one, Chris clearly went way harder, right? Like just needed to absolutely kill this sword picture. I also love that it's like The first one that Chris got, it's like, okay, we'll put the hand coming in from the right hand side of the shot. Second one, we'll put the hand coming in from the left side of the shot. Third one, the hand's coming from the bottom. So clever, loved it. And yeah, lots of figures, lots of action obviously happening here. This is like the new Phyrexia set. The war has come to its culmination. We're seeing the last fight of the Mirrans. So it's maybe a slightly more exciting brief to get. And I just want to say Sword of Peace. I have a tough time getting my head around. So I want to deduct a point flavor-wise for that. Like,
Fair.
I mean, that's like, well, shoves glasses through forehead. That's also just like a classic, like, oh, this military leader thinks that they're in the right because they're using violence to like achieve peace.
right.
Where it's like, no, that's wait a minute, this guy's wrong.
Yeah.
So the red aspect of this card is dealing damage equal to how many cards are in their hand, which, red tends to do that often to sort of to blue players who have lots of cards in their hand. And then the white aspect is it's life gain again. It's just it's less consistent life gain than the Sword of Light and Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a potentially higher ceiling, but probably not.
Lets you dream.
I guess I'm talking about it more mechanically than I am flavorfully, but
One of these abilities really had to pay for the crimes of the other ability.
I mean, they are kind of messed up. Like, it's pretty underwhelming, but if you get this out quick, it is a nightmare.
I think for me, Brian David Marshall said it best in the like Pro Tour coverage right after this set came out, where he was just like, yeah, I walked past a table and someone played a Llanowar Elves on turn 1 and then a Sword of War and Peace on turn 2 and then attacked with it on their Llanowar Elves on turn 3 and then their opponent conceded.
Yep.
And it's like, oh. So this one's like sort of asterisk the best one to have in that situation, or some other situations, usually when your opponent's blue, hilariously.
It's just like one of the few swords that can represent effectively like a 12-point life swing.
Yeah.
Like, you ever lightning helix someone, like just to the face?
Yeah.
It's not just them taking 3. It's you gaining 3. So that's a 6-point life swing.
fair enough.
And this sword just does that every single turn.
Yeah, right.
Assuming conditions are like this one really needs
Yeah.
conditions to be right.
Yeah.
So then let's
Yeah.
rewind to Canadian Highlander.
Sure. Thank you.
How's this going in Canadian Highlander? Given all that.
No,
No?
I actually have played this in Canadian Highlander during
Yeah.
that period. Shocker. I've played a lot of cards with Stoneforge Mystic, but yeah, it's the one that you cut when Cauldron Complete came out or whatever. It was still in your deck.
Took you that long?
That's the next like equipment that really caught my eye. I was like very late to the Shadow Spear party. I was like, I don't know, this isn't Bone Splitter. That's my opinion on Shadows. 2 to equip. Sorry, we don't need to talk about that card anymore. It's really that good though, unfortunately. But yeah, this one's definitely at least 3 stars.
Like, people have died from
Yeah.
this card. Usually when it's attached to like a Geist of St. Traff.
Oh.
Like way like old, like the old Bant Blade decks back in the day.
How's protection from red and white? Like red we
Really
know is good. Pro white's also very good.
it's
yeah.
relevant.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the
protections are
protection. They do suffer a bit from being the colors that can blow up swords. I mean, green obviously is another one that can blow up artifacts pretty well.
Right.
But white and red can just get rid of an artifact or any permanent. But they protect when they're on your creature. You're like, oh, it's not getting bolted and it's not getting swordsed. Well, it's
Right.
getting swordsed, but
Sorry. Right. Fair.
Yeah.
So you had it, what, 2, 3?
I'm giving it 3 stars for Canadian Highlander. The thing is, although it's uniquely powerful and the protections are fine, it's kind of a one trick. Like, it's the only thing it does is kill your opponent, which I know that's the goal of the game. It's just that like these other swords put you in positions where like you could attack with it, not win the game that turn, and then the value that you get off of the triggers allows you to play defense. And this one has a harder time doing that.
yeah, it only kills your opponent. It doesn't let you win the game.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good way to
Or like
put it.
winning the game or killing your opponent is a byproduct of winning the game. And so like taking steps to get yourself in that position, the sword doesn't really help that, aside from like a very straightforward bashing my skull against you sort of way.
Fair.
It's weird. We need to put strikes against this card because it's good at winning, but it's bad at doing nothing.
We have so many swords left to go.
I know,
Here
sorry.
at 40.
What's your Canlander ranking?
Oh, 1 egg.
Great.
Also-
Commander.
Sword of Wap. That's the best.
Oh, that's the good one.
Okay.
I love that though. I've never heard that.
That's okay. That's,
Commander ranking?
yeah.
Oh, 2
2 stars.
mistapped forests out of 10.
No, you can't change now.
All right, 2 stars.
2 mistapped forests out of 10.
I see. And we already talked about flavor. I don't think we ranked it, but
We talked about flavor ranking.
Yeah.
4.
I like the artwork.
The artwork's fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Next sword. Sword of Sinew and Steel. So this is a recent one. This, again, also Chris Run. Well, more recent, 2019. Here we are. This is Modern Horizons?
Yeah. First Modern Horizons.
All right. Protection from black and from red. And when it deals combat damage to a player, destroy up to 1 target planeswalker and up to 1 target artifact. Canlander.
0. Just has never seen play.
The triggers on damage are too weird on this one for anyone to bother trying to put it in their deck.
How good is pro black and red?
That's fine.
All right.
Fine, but
Protection from Fatal Push and Lightning Bolt.
Yep. But you don't really need to push and lightning bolt the card that this is.
Exactly.
Right, all right.
That's the problem.
It's just like, oh, dang, you
All right.
played giant strength. Oh my. Sure.
Canlander ranking then.
0.
Yeah, 1 star.
This
All
card
right.
has never won a tournament with
Yeah.
more than like 12 people.
It's neat to think about like the potential ceiling on this. Like I have a deck that contains both a Paradox Academy and an Ugin the Spirit Dragon. So like if somehow I were to pass the turn with those permanents in play, you could blow both of them up on
Yeah,
one attack step.
that usually happens.
That usually happens,
Yeah.
right? Usually you can equip a creature and attack me back when I've let you take a turn after I've done all that stuff.
Now, Commander, I find this interesting. In contrast to all the ones that we've seen so far, the Planeswalker and the artifact do not have to be controlled by the player that is hit.
Right.
So you can hit one player and destroy someone else's Sol Ring and a third player's
Yeah.
Teferi. I don't know.
Yeah, you can blow up your own treasure token to like trigger something.
This one I like a little bit in Commander, even though you are not going to be blowing up many planeswalkers
True.
because it's Commander.
Yeah.
But giving protection from, Blasphemous Act
Ooh.
is pretty hot.
Yeah.
And then blowing up people's mana rocks. I mean, it's kind of rude. Like, it's not.
It's so rude.
This is, again, I have a bias towards the swords that let you progress whatever game plan your deck has. And so this one is just kind of like, I don't know, what if I was a big jerk?
Yeah,
Sword.
although you're going to be able to find targets on your 4-player game much more easily, you don't want to because it doesn't deal lethal damage. So you're just going to make enemies of whoever's Soul Ring you blow up.
All right. So
2 stars.
Oh, like 2 stars? 2 stars.
Perfect.
all right, cool.
Yeah.
Flavor wise, I got a question for you. The art, which again is by Chris Ron, which I think is a banger. I love the sword. Like we've moved away from just 2 different colors of fire. Like I think that the sword itself looks very edgy and cool. Is this Tarkir?
I'm getting big Tarkir
It
vibes.
looks like Tarkir, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This one's from Modern Horizons, and maybe the brief was this sword's from Tarkir instead of
Interesting.
New Phyrexia.
You got some banners. You got some dragons.
Yeah.
They're allowed to have a magical sword too.
This sword, I think it has my favorite artwork, mostly because it looks the most like a Dark Souls sword.
Oh,
but also, this taps into big, like, 14-year-old energy of, like, okay, what if one sword looked like it was, fresh from the kiln sort of thing? And then what if the other one was a katana that is always dripping blood? Like, that's just...
It's like
Hell
serrated.
yeah.
Like it looks a bit like a spine, but it's not a spine, right? Or something.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like a weird magical bone shaft. This one's the most metal.
It is.
Weird
Yeah.
magical bone shaft.
So I don't
4
are
stars
we-
for flavor.
Are we so red we're getting shatter.
Steel.
Black no the effects.
Yes.
From
Yes.
red we're getting destroy an artifact, and from black we're getting destroy a planeswalker, I guess.
Yeah, of sinew. Only, it can kill a Ugin the Spirit Dragon is actually a flavor fail because it's like the sinew is being removed from the enemy, right?
Yeah.
Or it's made of sinew, which makes it good at killing planeswalkers.
I mean,
I don't get it either.
Sorry, that's just a weird like thing to bring. It's just like, yeah, dude, so many kill spells kill ghosts. Like, I mean, I just lightning bolt your spirit token. Nah, dude, you can't.
You can't.
Can't.
Flavor
Sorry.
judge fail.
Why Lingering Souls was so good.
Pyroclasm, don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
They're spirits.
They're dead already, idiot.
yeah.
Where are they going to go?
I've got Platinum Angel.
All right, Wheeler, flavor.
Oh, yeah, I think this one's really cool. I like it. It can cut through your weapon. It can cut through your hand. It really taps into like the 14-year-old vibe. I'm down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Super
All right.
metal.
Top ranking.
Great.
Okay.
Next, sword. Sword of Truth and Justice. This is also from Modern Horizons. Now, this is, wow, a sword with reminder text. That's unusual. So it gets protection from white and from blue. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. Then you proliferate. That's interesting. Canlander.
0. I mean, people have tried. This one has actually seen a
Yeah.
little play.
This one's proactive as opposed to
Yeah.
being reactive, like it's supposed to being removal, right?
You could include it in a. I could see someone building like a +1/+1 counters deck and being like, and I should play this card. They're wrong, but they'll think that.
Yeah,
and
they're-
they'll try it.
They're going to play this card right up until the very next card that says +1 counters, +1 more of them gets printed, which is like the next week.
Yeah.
Or there was a week when you could play this card just to find out that it wasn't quite good enough. 2 stars for Canadian Highlander.
1 star.
All right. Commander.
Well,
This one-
proliferating commander is
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah, this is in the line of like, if you play this because your deck cares about proliferating.
Right.
And even if you are in a spot where your deck that cares about proliferating isn't going to be able to profitably proliferate, you can at least just start racking up 1/1 counters, which is kind of hot. You can also get a little political with
Yeah,
proliferate.
That's right.
Where you could just be like,
Right.
let me hit you, and I can put counters on your thing that'll let you do this to deal with a problematic.
Right.
permit.
I'll let you go off with your planeswalker instead of killing it or something.
Yeah, which is kind of neat. I always like cards that allow that kind of.
I also want to give a shout out to this one for having protection from the 2 colors that have most of the flyers. So like just being able to connect with this sword is a bit easier, assuming you have a flyer, but or a trampler or whatever.
Cool. All right. Commander rank.
Yeah, like 4 stars out of 5.
I would probably put this in the top 4.
Great. Flavor wise, are we getting the counter from white and the proliferate from blue?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And the counter is justice,
Yeah.
and the proliferation is truth.
Yeah.
I don't generally associate white does a lot of +1/+1 counter
The
stuff.
plane is still Tarkir.
If this is on Tarkir, white puts +1/+1 counters on things, but
fair
not
enough.
in blue white. I don't even think this is Tarkir anymore, is
Maybe
it?
it's not. I don't know. I can't tell if it's Tarkir, but there are banners and dragons.
Yeah.
I think that's a griffin.
Oh.
Is it Bant? I feel like this is
Maybe.
Bant.
Okay.
Oh, it could be. Ooh,
Maybe.
Interesting.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments below, but
Yeah, where's this
only
sword from?
no headcanon. I want real deal facts.
All right. Flavor ranking.
It looks like this hand is holding the sword improperly. Like at first glance,
Oh, okay.
it looks like they're holding it like a One Piece character. Of just like it's upside down, and that's their style,
Right.
right? It's like, I mean, I get how they're actually holding it, but
I see what you're
on a
saying.
glance, it kind of just like what? Oh, okay, I see.
Right.
I don't know.
That wasn't an answer.
I don't get how
Oh, that was
truth
my
and
answer.
justice
Oh.
really connect with +1/+1 and proliferating. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So 3 stars for flavor.
All right. Next, sword. Sword of Hearth and Home. It's got protection from green and white. And whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage, exile up to 1 target creature you own. Then search your library for a basic land card. Put both cards onto the battlefield under your control. And then shuffle. So you get to blink one of your own creatures, and ramp. Interesting.
This one's from Modern Horizons 2,
This
right?
would have killed in 2020,
Yes.
2013 Canlander.
Yeah, we have to
yeah?
go back. Going back to that like 2013 Canlander vibe, this one gives you a mana the same turn that you connect with it, untapped, and your creature vigilance if you're willing to take the sword off.
It doesn't even have to be that creature. It could be a different creature.
Exactly.
I can flicker my avalanche riders,
Mm.
or my wood elves.
You can flicker your Sun Titan.
Ooh. Yeah, like the kind of garbage plays that would be made with this card. Like I could close my eyes and visualize getting my ass wrecked by this card in like round 3
Yeah.
of a Canlander event where I'm just like, this shouldn't be happening.
Doug Kamola somehow has one more basic land in his deck after already ramping to like 8 basic lands in play, hitting you with this and flickering his Avenger of Zendikar.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to flicker a deranged hermit with an opposition in play, and they'll be like, oh, I get to tap down your one creature that can actually block this. It's just like, oh.
The number of Thragtusks that would get flickered by this thing.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, no, this one is like weirdly like a 4 stars in Canadian Highlander under the assuming they're playable, like out of them.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
from 2013.
Yeah, I've never cast this spell, but yeah, it's right there. It's like almost as good as Feast and Famine, I want to say.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd put if in this weird universe.
In this
yeah.
weird alternate
your rank then?
2013 where they all got built in New Phyrexia.
Yeah.
That was the rank? Just, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Commander.
Yeah, this is the goat.
Yeah, this
Really?
one looks
Yeah.
nuts in Commander because you ramp and you flicker.
Ramping every time is already just like huge.
Yeah.
Because that's all every commander deck just wants more mana all the time. And then flickering your creatures. And it's just one you own. So you could be a deck that has a bunch of ETBs built around like blinks, and this card is absurd. You could just be your average commander deck, and this is absurd because you're bound to have some
You're gonna have
ETBs. It also plays well against, again, decks that steal creatures, which are famously the rudest thing you can do.
Yep.
And so it has counterplay against like things that you don't want to run into with Commander, but you are probably going to run into at some point in time. And most tokens are going to be green and white. And so like it just lets you get through clogged boards. Like this one just kind of does everything.
Yeah, it also, I love that it just like completely shuts down Darksteel mutation. You can either just equip your commander and now the Darksteel mutation falls off because it has pro white, or if you wanted to attack with something else, you could blink your commander.
Yeah, nice
afterwards.
song of Frailties,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
there we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
All right, Commander rank.
Wait, does that one doesn't necessarily work because when it becomes a land, it stops being a creature.
Doesn't matter, man.
Nice song of Freyalise.
Yeah,
Sincerely.
just sincerely. Nice song of Fraley's derogatory.
5 stars for commander.
This has got to be my pick of the week.
Excellent. Flavor-wise, not that it's relevant, but I note that we're on Kaldheim for this one,
Oh,
which is
nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Hearth, we're getting a land, and then Come Home, My Creatures, I guess. I think we're doing it in that order. I think Hearth is the...
No, you need to exile a
Ramping?
creature in order to let that creature make a fire in the hearth, and then the home is the basic land you go get.
You know, I think there's a reasonable argument to make for either interpretation.
I think you're both wrong. This artwork, I know that you said Cold Time, but just about this artwork, it looks very much like the wilderness of British Columbia.
It really does.
Yeah.
Just imagining being on a camping trip and someone's like, dude, I got a new knife for this weekend.
Just pull this out. I'm going to cut the firewood with this.
Yeah.
Here, come back here. Let me blink you.
I mean, this feels like where they're like, how the hell do we, like, what do you mean? Why is this on a sword? Like,
Yeah,
this is,
sure.
it's, both of these effects are, like, they're not aggressive. They're not something where it's like, I've slain you, and now I gotta find a land. You know, it's not like some of the other swords, you get that feeling, like you connect and then you get to destroy their armor or their,
In Gavin's Unknown event in Philly, they had the sword of X and Y.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
had to roll on a table, and the way that it worked was it was the the first ability from one sword and the second ability from a different sword. I guess you could have rolled the same sword, but anyway, I was very worried until my opponent rolled the sword of body and home. So they got a wolf, and they get to go looking for land, and then I killed them. So it was not as scary as it could have been.
Sick.
Yeah,
Yeah, 3 stars for flavor.
nice.
Sword of Hearth and Home sounds like a Phil Collins track.
Good ranking. Thank you. Next sword. Sword of Forge and Frontier. This is not even the most recent, right? The second most recent?
second most
okay.
recent.
This one's from Phyrexia. All will be one. So we're back on. This is now a Mirren sword again. Protection from red and from green. And whenever it deals combat damage, you exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn, and you may play an additional land this turn. 2013 Canadian Highlander.
I think I'd play this.
Yeah, this one seems like it'd be pretty hot. Again, I don't know. You got a pretty high percentage for it to put a land into play untapped, assuming you haven't played your land for the turn, right?
Well, you also get an additional land from this.
Oh, right. Sorry. You can have played. I forgot about that part. I know you just said it, but
That's okay.
there's a lot of words on this card.
There are.
This just like attacks through the big things. It
Yeah.
attacks through Goyf and doesn't get bolted.
Yeah.
Those are 2 pretty reasonable things
Sweet.
to ask. And then
So-
it lets you draw extra cards.
All right.
Yeah.
What's this rank in our flashback Highlander?
Yes, for sure.
It might be like the 4th best one.
Coming in at number 5, sort of Forge Frontier.
4 stars.
Great.
Yeah.
Commander.
Yeah, this one's a bang.
Oh yeah,
This
this
seems
one
great.
looks sweet in Commander.
Yeah.
It gets a lot of Hearth and Home kind of vibes. Of
Yes.
Just like it's things that Commander players always want, except for the whiny ones that are like, exile the top card. What if I can't cast it?
Yeah.
Just
No, now it's an exile.
and now it's gone forever.
Oh, of course I hit 2 lands.
Yeah.
I can only play one of them.
Ooh, I'm mad.
Got to pick between my Gaia's Cradle and my
Cabal coffers that would have added 1 mana.
yeah. Sorry. Still really good in Commander though.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
like
just-
also 4 stars.
Again,
Commander.
it's a sword that reinforces your game plan, which is cool and good.
Sweet. Rankin?
This is the best one to play next to Seize the Day .deck, right?
Yeah, I would put this pretty close to like Hearth and Home. Like these 2, I am more excited to play than any of the other swords. I think.
Cool.
Commander.
We're almost there.
Yeah. Flavor-wise,
Oh yeah, flavor.
is this the first one that, like, I've never heard of the phrase Forge and Frontier?
No, they kind of.
I'm familiar with, like, Body and Mind.
I mean,
War and Peace.
do you think they were
Truth
gonna-
and Justice?
Sword of Manifest and Destiny.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Oh, that might have made more sense.
I don't like the name.
Yeah, it's
They could only use that name if you like manifest the top card of your library, though, because that's a thing.
Ooh,
Well, they could still use it, but we would give them points off. for
Sword
flavor.
of
But we're giving them points off for flavor anyway.
Sword of Colonizers and more colonizers.
I thought you were going to say Sword of Call and Duty. That's
right.
probably going to be a secret layer coming out. Watch out. You COD players, we want you to play Magic, right?
All right, flavor ranking, and then our final sword.
I don't know, 2 stars
This
for
one
flavor.
doesn't do it for me.
It's not flavor-wise. It's
All
not
right.
really killing it. Sorry.
Last sword, the sword of once and future. See, that's another phrase that I'm familiar with.
phrase.
Forge and Frontier, totally baffling name. Anyway, this one's got protection from blue and black, and so many words. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, surveil 2. Nice. Then you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. That's messy. That's not like 2 distinct abilities.
So
I was playing Arena,
Yeah.
some ranked standard
Yeah.
in Mythic, and I'm playing mono black, the mono black like Graveyard Trespasser Shieldred deck.
Sure.
My opponent was playing like a mono red deck with multiple copies of this card in their main deck. As it like presumably
Pro-black,
as a
yeah.
pro black. I'm like, oh wow, they really didn't want to lose to Shieldred.
Right.
And then they just proceeded to lose to Shieldred because the sword did like nothing. It's so bad.
can't do
it just asks so much. Like a deck that can like regularly fulfill this is just not a deck that is looking to play a 5-mana sword.
Yeah.
Even back in 2013.
Well, yeah, like 2013 Canadian Highlander, like you do have some really incredible 1 and 2 mana spells, and like still today we have even more that you can get back. So like the upside on this is real. Like you can, potentially flashback an Ancestral Recall with this ability. Yeah. So like the ceiling on like how good the play looks with this card is there. It's just, I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem like enough even for 2013. Like all these other swords are there too, right? Like we're saying theoretically, you can play any of these swords. I'm still just picking this one like almost dead last. It's ahead of Body and Mind.
It's
for
probably.
me.
I mean, these words are all good.
Yeah.
But I just, like you said, God, there's so many words. I just rolled my eyes. Just don't care. Had enough of it. Deal 2, draw a card. Yes, please.
Yeah.
All this? I'm not reading all that.
There's been so many cards printed in the last 12 months where I just didn't bother.
Yeah, it's just like, sure, okay.
What to do? Cool. All right,
Yep.
flashback Canlander ranking.
Like
I ain't
1
touching
star. Yeah.
All right.
I'm good.
Commander. Is it good in Commander?
Probably not.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't make mana.
The like 2. Do you know how hard it is to get people to play spells that cost 2 or less in their deck? That
Yeah,
don't
that
say,
seems so
search
weird.
your library for a basic land.
Yeah.
Like, it's so difficult.
And the other thing is like the rebate you get in the 4-player game, like for getting 2 mana off, it just doesn't make that big a difference, right? Like it does sort of make mana if you cast a spell for free.
Like this card is fine. It's not embarrassing to play it in Commander. I mean, nothing. Well, it is embarrassing to play Commander, but I mean, nothing is. They're all whatever.
Yeah.
But this one is just like, again, I'm not reading all that.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And the protections, it's sort of like if you really wanted protection from blue, boy, have I got a sword for you. And same for black.
Yeah,
like,
dude. You want to know my strategy for protection against a blue and black deck? It's this.
He's
Just
walked
leave.
off set.
Just leave.
Just doesn't want to play against blue and black
You can
decks.
simply leave.
It's like, I'll find a new table. Good. I'm good. You can cast all these people's cards. Not mine. Not mine.
So Commander rank.
1 star.
Yeah, sure does.
And finally, the flavor of the Sword of Once and Future.
The name's cool.
It's a good name. It's a real good name.
What is the once and what is the future? Abilities.
Gosh.
And colors of sword.
Great question.
I don't know either answer.
Yeah, wait.
Like what's like it's a super cool name, and what the hell does it mean?
Blue, I guess, is future, which is the survey. No, that's the
Once.
no. Once is black and the surveilling, and
Why?
then future is blue and the casting spells from your graveyard.
No, I want to say I think you were right with future is surveilling. Because you're setting up your future.
Boys,
Wait a minute. This whole thing doesn't make sense.
Boys, we talked about the easiest answer to this. Just get up and leave.
All right, this gets a flavor rank of we come to the end of the podcast.
1 star for the name and 1 star for the art. No, the art is a 5 stars picture. It's just you only get 1 star for the flavor ranking.
Understood. Well, there we go. There was the sword down. I really enjoyed that, actually.
Yeah, I'm
fun?
down here. I had fun.
Yeah.
I have a closing statement.
Please.
Please.
This is my. I'm being very brave. I don't think they should have done more than 2 of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, or maybe like you do a new one for each, like Mirrodin
Yeah.
set.
Didn't need a cycle.
No, you don't need. You definitely don't need 10.
I'm
Go with
stoked.
5,
I'm
but-
stoked that the cycle happened. I would have been fine if it took longer. It turns out
I'm surprised how quickly they wrapped it up.
that's a weird thing to admit because the whole time that it was happening, and people still do this, and I'm still doing this for some cycles now. I'm just like, when are we getting my Rivers of Tears or whatever? And like people will clamor for the rest of the cards of unfinished cycles we filled out. But like, it turns out a lot of the joy of like chatting about Magic cards and doing theory crafting and stuff is like the designers taking their sweet time with like
just
letting the cards
wait.
get printed.
Just
Yeah.
let it happen naturally. You don't have to be like, okay, locking myself in my house and grabbing every Korok and Breath of the Wild. Don't talk to me for 2 days. It's like, let it progress.
Right.
Let the next sword come out like in 12 years when we go back to Mirrodin.
I'm fine with that. Also, 48 hours for every Korok that's not healthy. Like you should be taking
Don't
weeks.
tell it to me. Tell
Okay.
it to people that haven't bathed in a while.
Weeks for the Koroks.
Let us know how you would design the Dimir sword in the comments. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. But until then, this has been TapTapConcede. A couple things. Nicknames for the most recent set, which is none of the ones we talked about today.
Wilds of Eldraine.
Wilds of Eldraine. We're going to be opening the submissions for that. It's going to work the same way it's done a few other times, where there's going to be the hidden submission period of time, and then the voting will open after that. So go to lrr.cc/nicknames to see that, and you can give us some submissions for Wilds of Eldraine nicknames. Yes, the nicknames are back. Until we speak again, I have been Graham, joined by Wheeler,
Sword.
and Nelson.
Down.
James is on tech. Heather gets these online. I'm doing this in a weird order. Go to cardkingdom.com/LRR. And also, everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.